The world faces a threat so great Merlin kidnaps the rest of the Sorcerers Supreme from across time. Let's take a look at this new issue of Doctor Strange. What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. In this iRate review, I'm going to be talking about Doctor Strange and the Sorcerers Supreme, issue number 1. So this is a new premiere issue for a new series, but the thing is that if you've read the Doctor Strange annual, you got a really good idea of what Robbie Thompson's writing is going to be like, because he's the one that really helmed that entire annual story. The important thing to remember is the fact that this takes place after the last days of Magic. So if you want to have an idea of the context for this particular story, you're going to want to go back and read Jason Aaron's run with Chris Bachalo, at least through that arc, to get an idea of where we're coming from in terms of the story itself. But to lead off with, we're going to focus on Merlin. So Merlin, a Sorcerer Supreme himself, a master of the mystical arts, is facing a kind of a threat at this point in time. One that we're not necessarily sure of its origin, and it's something that's called the Forgotten. And what he's found, as a trying battle of these particular things, is that it's something that he can't face alone, and he continuously goes out and tries to recruit individuals to help him to his cause. And we follow along as he encounters Doctor Strange, fresh off the Last Days of Magic arc, low on his overall magic reserves and just wielding magical artifacts, facing off against a foe that he should have been easily able to dispatch. Getting thrashed around in invisibility, based on what this Brooklynite is seeing, and Merlin picks him up right after the fray and hauls him back in time right into the fray of another battle against all kinds of different monsters. So he's got to kind of come into this really blind and has no idea. However, what he does recognize is that there's a few other familiar faces. So, Merlin is, of course, a familiar face, as well as Wiccan, who is evidently the Sorcerer Supreme of the future. So that's a very interesting story, but also we have the younger version of the Ancient One, before the Ancient One became the Ancient One. So this is going to have a whole heck of a lot of lineage, and it's going to be I feel like the story is going to be a really good place to dive in if you want to have a lot more exposure to the magical and mystical side of the Marvel Universe. And it's going to be through Doctor Strange that we really see those things. As far as the art's concerned, the art is overall very good. It's got a different style than what you'd expect from, say, Chris Bachalo on the main Doctor Strange title, which is okay. Any kind of difference isn't necessarily a contrast in a poor way. It wasn't really anything that was counterintuitive or that kind of contrasted with what you're looking for, which is a magical, mystical, kind of whimsical style. It definitely fit into the right place. So what it comes down to is this a book that you're going to want to go back to your comic book shop if you haven't got it already? To be honest with you, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's a real must-go-get kind of title. If you're a fan of Doctor Strange or you have interest in that magical and mystical realm that's associated with the MCU and the magical aspects, I think that it's a great way to get introduced to new characters and this whole realm idea of things, this whole magical side of Marvel. But if you're somebody that's not a Doctor Strange superfan and the magical aspect doesn't really appeal to you, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a must-get. Overall, it was very enjoyable, but it's not one of the things that I would consider a stellar standout at this point in time, but I'll keep you updated as it goes along. So that's my review of Doctor Strange and the Sorcerers Supreme number 1, but I want to know if you guys read it too and what you thought, so hit me up in the comments, and then that way we can start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe right there to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.